Hi sewing friends, I'm Karina from Lifting Pins and Needles, and today I have a different video for you, and it's about what I've been working on these last couple of days. It's a practical thing, so I won't be showing you any clothes. And I think it's really good to know how to draft your own bodice. It can seem daunting, and I know I didn't do it for a while after I started sewing. I thought it was too hard. The basic skirt drafting pattern is so easy. So if you compare that to the top part, it's got a bit more measurements to take into account, but it is not hard, and I can't stress that enough. Now I have drafted this before, the first time when I was about 15 and then when I was 20, and I used the guidelines for the norm. Like, I had quite a normal body shape, quite smaller. I wish I had those measurements, but they are long gone. I hope not forever, but they are long gone. So those bodice blocks are gone. After my 20s, I did get a bit sloppy in my sewing. Not sloppy as such, but I did venture into really easy projects, loose fitting, stretchy fabrics, and that was because I was in university, and then I was at work, and I just didn't have the time to properly make, like hard, involved projects. So recently I have been making more involved projects using some patterns, and I always have to adjust the fit so much, and usually around the bust area, and it's just really frustrating and takes a lot of time. And so I decided to make my own custom bodice block again using my measurements that I have now. So it's a bit hard actually measuring yourself and actually writing those measurements down, because it's not what I would like to see, but it is what I have now, and if I'm making clothes right now, I am making it to those measurements. So little tips and tricks. Take your measurements properly. I wasn't taking my measurements properly. I was just doing it a bit sloppily. And the other thing, I was taking my measurements without adding any ease. And I just cannot have a garment that will fit and be skin tight, especially because I'm trying to work with woven fabrics with zero stretch. So you do need to add, I added 4 centimeters of ease to my bust and waist measurements. That way I can at least move around in them, but they still fit quite close to my skin. The other thing is, wear the proper bra. I made 4 attempts at drafting this bodice, and I know now that I failed. One, because I took the measurements wrong, and because I was wearing a sports bra. Sports bras can distort your breast quite a bit when you want to take the height of your breast and the distance between one breast and the other breast, from nipple to nipple measurement. So I wear minimizing bras. I have found one bra that fits me really good, and I like the way it shapes my breast and makes it look smaller. Not that I have massive breasts, and maybe I'm like anti-cultural here, because most Latin women, Latin American women, they like showing off their breasts, and breast implants are so common. Like, everyone wants to have a huge breast and show it, and big cleavage, and have clothes that actually accentuate that big breast. I do not want that. I want my breast always to look smaller than it is, because it just makes me feel more comfortable and, less self-aware of it. So it's not massive, but it is there, and I'm a C cup now. In the past I used to be a B cup, so definitely everything changes when you change from one cup to the other. So yeah, I'll show you now really briefly how I took the measurements that I need. It is not hard, I can't stress that enough. And in a couple of minutes you can have your measurements and draft your own bodice block. So check that out now. So now I'm going to take my measurements. First is how wide your shoulders are. So from one point to the next, find about those little bones. Mine is 40 centimeters. So from point to point, 40 centimeters. Now around the bust, again wearing the right bra, everything. The biggest part of my breast measures 104 centimeters. And I added in 4 centimeters of ease, which makes it 108. Now, why do I have this funny looking thing around my waist? This is just an elastic band tied up with a knot, and it just helps you define where your natural waist is. So it just sits, it just finds your natural waist basically, and it helps you take the measurements of the front height of your bodice. So from the highest part of your neck, passing over your breasts, down to there, for me it's 48. Now when I do this on the back, like that, because I don't have breasts on the back, it's 44. So there's quite a bit of difference, 4 centimeter difference between my front and my back, and that is due to my breasts. Some people don't have such a big difference, maybe 1 or 2 centimeters, but in my case it's significant. Then comes the bust height. So from the highest part of your neck right there to where your breast sits at the highest, and for me it's 32. So maybe someone younger with smaller breasts, or that doesn't have children or hasn't breastfed, your breast will sit up higher obviously, so that might be like 26 or whatever, but you know, bodies change with age and stuff, so that's what I have right now. And then the other measurement is the bust to bust distance, the nipple to nipple, and that for me is 24 centimeters. So that's all you need: the shoulder width, the bust, the waist, the bust height, the bust to bust, the front waist height, and the back waist height. So those are all the measurements you need. And I was definitely taking these measurements wrong, and that's why I got my pattern wrong all the first times, and now I got it right. So now we'll see how I'm drafting this. So I wrote down my measurements there to just show you how I figured these out and how I'm going to apply these to the front and back bodice pattern block. Okay, so I'm going to start with the front bodice first and then with the back bodice. I hope you can see everything clearly. So I've drawn some rectangles, and I've already marked some lines. So first we'll start by making a vertical line that is the height of your front waist. In my case, you can see the back part and the front part quite different, and that's because of my breast, right? So that's why there's a different length there. So this for me, as I said, was 48 centimeters there. So this measures 48 centimeters there. Then I have the width, which is my bust measurement, 108 divided by 4. So 108 divided by 4 equals 27 centimeters, right? So this is 20 centimeters here, 27, and for the back as well. So I've used the same for the front and the back. So 48 down, 27 across, right? And then comes this line here, which defines where your armhole starts going up. So one easy way is to just divide the length of your waist height by 2. So because mine is 48, this is 24. So from here to there is 24 centimeters. That's quite standard. So usually people with a lower waist height have a smaller breast, thus have a smaller armhole. So because mine's a bit larger, my armhole is 24 centimeters. Now I have compared what I've done now to some patterns that are made by companies and whatever, and it's usually spot on. The length of the armhole is 23.5 to 24 centimeters. So that's the measurement that I have there. Okay, so now we're going to actually start drawing here. Oh, what's this line? 4 centimeters. That's the average shoulder drop for a person, average. Look at yourself. If your shoulders you think are higher, sit higher, maybe it would be 3. And if they droop lower, it might be 5. But I found that the average shoulder drop is quite average for me. So I have average shoulders. So that's that 4 centimeter line right there. So from the corner, we're going to mark our neck hole there. So take your shoulder width measurement. Mine's 40. And divide it by 6. So that gives me 6.7. And I'm going to round that off to 6.5. So I'm going to mark here from the top 6.5 centimeters. And then from this way down, I'm going to mark the 6.5 plus 2 centimeters. Now, I do not use high necklines. That is not my style. I just don't do that. But that's what the norm says. So I just use this to try it on, but actually I drop it quite low because I like scoop necks. Look at my printed French curve. It's printed. I couldn't find a ruler, like a proper one to buy anywhere. So I just got this. And I'm going to use this to make the mark of the neck hole. Actually, you can't even try this on if you want to try on your toile later. So I had to deepen it more to just get my head through. But in theory, that's the neck hole. So my shoulder width measurement was 40 centimeters. So half of that is 20, right? So I'm going to mark 20 centimeters right there at the point of where the shoulder drop is. So 20 centimeters. So I'm going to draw that line there. So from here to there, I have 20 centimeters. That is half of my shoulder width, right? So I'm going to draw a line here. That 20 centimeters all the way down here. Now to draw the armhole. I take that measurement there and divide it in half. So what would that be? I have 20 centimeters here. Now it's 20 from here to there, and plus the 4 gives you that 24, right? But you're just taking into account this part. So that's 20, so I'll put a little line here at the 10 centimeter. And here, I'm going to go in 1.5 centimeters. 1.5 right there. That's quite norm because, you know, the front armhole is scooped in more than the back one. So now all I have to do is get my little French curve and join the dots. There you go. Ta-da! Now I'm quite happy with that. I'm sorry, there's a plane flying past right now, so... Okay, I think the plane is mostly gone. I can't hear it anymore. So I really need that side dart to shape my breast. I really do need it in most of the clothes that I do have that are going to be close fitting to my body, like a bodice on a dress would be. So if I'm making like just a loose blouse, maybe I can get away with not having it, but for a tight fitting bodice, for a dress, I do want that side dart. So most patterns that use the normal B cup will start this dart around 3 centimeters under here. Maybe for a slightly bigger bust at 4. But for me, after trial and error, I find I have to make mine start at 5 centimeters. And that's due to my breast height as well. So if I had perkier breasts or that are sitting up higher, then yeah, it would probably start lower, I mean up here. So I have a 4 centimeter difference here from my back to my front, which means my dart has to be 4 centimeters in the depth of it, so that it will match my waistline and it will sit nice and even all around when I stand up. So I'm marking 4 centimeters there, and I'm marking the middle part too. So the distance I have, for example, from here to there is 26. I'm just going to carry on that line there. How long do I have to make this dart? For me, I found that 10 centimeters is okay. I don't like having like really pointy darts. So 10 centimeters is more than enough for me. So I'm drafting this right there. Oh, sorry, I did that line wrong. There. Okay, So remember I told you about my bust height was 32 centimeters. So from the highest part of my shoulder down to the highest part of my breast. So if I measure this from the highest part of my neck, 32 centimeters is about here. And then the distance from my bust to my other bust was 24. So by half, that's 12. So pretend that's my little nipple there. I'm sure women just watch this. So that is my breast right there, which sits pretty well, the height of my breast with where that dart is going to lie. So if I had my dart up higher, then it would be all wrong. And if I had it low, it would be wrong as well. So that is how I got my side dart. And now for the little waist dart. You use this same measurement, the bust to bust measurement. That's 24 divided by 2. So 12 centimeters right there. Now that's mine, you know, yours is going to be totally different. So I'm going to mark that up a little bit more. Now I would recommend never making the dart right up to your bust, or else you have this like pointy little weird thing right at the height of your bust, and that does not look good. So for a person with a bigger breast like me, I would let it hit about 2 inches below that highest bust point, so about 5 centimeters, which would make this dart 10-11 centimeters in the height of it. Now some people do this dart 3 centimeters. I like doing it 2 because yeah, I don't like having I don't like defining my breast that much at the front. So if I have a smaller dart, it will make my breasts look smaller. And that's just me talking. I'm sure a sewing teacher won't tell you that. I've just found that with trial and error, if I have a really defined waist at the front, my breasts just pop out, and it's like I don't want that. So that's that. Now the waist. My waist is quite large, unfortunately. 90 centimeters plus 4 centimeters gives me 94. That's including the ease. So 94 divided by 4 is 23.5. But you have to consider these 2 centimeters here. So plus 2, and I will mark 25.5 here. 25.5 right there. So then I will join my line from there to there.